I have notes. I have notes on this movie.
This ought to be good.
It wasn't. um,
Okay.
I mean, let me give a caveat. It wasn't because I was texting you when I was watching this movie
Yeah.
for the first time.
I
This one's a weird one.
I wasn't as distracted by the things that bothered you when I watched it. I get why.
Oh my,
I just
yeah.
I just didn't find it because that mullet is awful. But
Okay, it was so distracting.
it didn't bother me
So
as much. I was able to let it go.
I was looking up reviews after it, and one of my favorite quotes was someone called it show-stoppingly bad hair, and I was like, you know what? I'll give you that. I'm not gonna disagree with that. I agree. I didn't think it would be that bad, but holy shit.
I have more mixed feelings about this than I think you do.
I don't
Because
know. I have really pretty mixed feelings.
oh, okay. Just the way you're phrasing that, I thought you like hated it.
I hated the first half. Basically, the point where I stopped texting you was the point where I actually started being engaged in the movie,
Yeah.
which is to say, like an hour and a half into a 2.5 hour movie.
So pretty much like when Matt Damon stops being the star.
No, it took. I was still reasonably distracted during
Adam Driver segment.
Adam Driver's part. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get a
Yeah,
little
let's get
structure
into
into
this.
this.
Yeah.
We're just wandering around here.
So
So the last duel is. I don't want. Please don't call this a Rashomon type tale because it's not. It's just told from different perspectives, and there are different interpretations of scenes, which on a certain level has elements of that. But the whole point of something like Rashomon is that it shows the same scenes from different perspectives. And the overlapping scenes in this movie are either inconsequential or there are like three of them.
yeah, most of them are
And
just like here's what happened on the other side of things. Not like I did like the framing. I did like the idea of it. I think some of it kind of worked. I did think one reviewer I saw who was talking about it who like made a good point where it's like on one hand you gotta stop you gotta step back and think about it, realize like wait guys, this is the version of the story you thought made you look good.
no, that's here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I actually realized that um there was a point where I was fighting with that specifically because I was like, how is this how is this the good side of it? Like, how do you
Yeah,
think this is
this is gonna redeem you.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is not the redeeming interpretation of events. This is bad.
Yeah.
Um, and here it is. Okay. Um, but what I realized was that it wasn't so much about them making themselves look good. I think it was more because Adam Driver's character is just fundamentally a piece of shit. Like
Yeah.
he's a shitty person.
Yep.
And even from his perspective, he doesn't think that it's that bad.
Nope.
And that's why it's framed the way it is. And even the bad things that he does are not really altered from the reality of the situation that much.
Mm.
Aside from, the main scene. But I think the big thing is framing the entire scenario from the perspective of the ego of the two male characters
Mm.
before showing it from the perspective of the woman and how she has to navigate through this fucking horrifying maze of their bullshit.
Yep.
And that's where it started to click with me
Yeah.
because the thing with the idea of like that's why I'm hesitant to call it like a Rashomon type tale.
Mm.
Just splitting it's like saying there are slightly different interpretations of some of the scenes, but that would be like saying Pulp Fiction is a Rashomon type tale
Mm-hmm.
because there's some overlap in the scenes but for the most part, you're seeing different scenes. You're just telling a story out of sequence. And I feel like the movie could have actually been stronger without that gimmick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First off, you could have shaved probably half an hour off of that.
Yeah, you definitely could have. This movie's way too fucking long.
And if you're not going to show me different interpretations of certain of most of the scenes, why not just show them all in sequence? Like, I don't understand the point of, I really wanted to see, what's her name? I forget the character's names, whatever. Marguerite. There you go.
Yeah.
I wanted to see Marguerite's interpretation of like the moment they met.
Mm-hmm,
I didn't want to just see like their shitty consummation with like incredibly inconsiderate lover Matt Damon. And like I wanted to see more of her side of the story of some of the scenes that we saw from the other perspectives already.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see Matt Damon's interpretation of the scene where he went and he like would shout in front of the Duke and Adam Driver. Like, I wanted to see the different perspectives of those scenes, but they literally will lead up to those scenes and then cut away.
Yeah.
And
that way you can use it for the other sequence. Yeah.
Yeah. And then and Matt Damon says to Marguerite that he, he spoke his part, but he was dignified about it and he was respectful. And then the only thing it shows is Adam Driver's interpretation of the scene, which just shows Matt Damon being a complete fuckwad.
Yeah.
And like, I hate this because now I can't, I don't feel like I have any real, I feel like every perspective I see is biased at that point.
I can see that.
With the exception of, Marguerite's, because clearly she's dealing with the most. But when I watch something like I love Rashomon type stories. Like if you watch, there's a show on Showtime, I think, called The Affair, which is it's a slow character based drama. But I really loved it because it did this kind of concept right. It showed the separate sequences of what the characters were doing on their own separately, but all of the scenes where the characters interact, it shows both sides of that scene, pretty much all of them. So that's what makes things like this interesting. There's no point in doing a movie like this unless you're going to do that, and they don't.
Fair. Yeah.
So that's the wasted opportunity I saw there. And then that aside, holy shit, Ben Affleck's hair is somehow worse than Matt Damon's.
I'm gonna defend Ben Affleck a little bit here because, like, I acknowledge that the hair and the accent aren't great, but I will kind of say, like, I did just kind of enjoy just how much scenery he's chewing.
He's having a good time.
He's having a good time with it, and for me, that was kind of enough for me to get some enjoyment out of it.
Look, it was bad enough when we saw the trailer, and I was already talking about, like, okay, so we're going to get a British movie, basically a British movie, starring mostly American actors faking really bad British accents.
Yeah.
By the way, Matt Damon barely tries. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. I think he just gives up at some point, but I don't know what he's trying to do. I think he's honestly like just trying to speak Old English with an American accent, which just sounds awkward as fuck. But then you have, Comer. I forgot her name. It's not Julia. It's Jodie? Something. The lady from Killing Eve.
Oh God.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, the lady who plays Marguerite, easily the best part of the movie.
Also in Free Guy, good year for her. I'll give her that.
Yeah. So she is actually British. So she's literally just speaking, the King's English, and all of these fucking Americans are standing around her with really terrible fucking accents throughout this movie. And I was already laughing about that. But then we go to see the movie, and it's actually about a French story. And some of the guys in the movie actually speak French. This, like, one dude near the beginning sings a song in French, and all of the soldiers around him say, like, oh yeah, good. They say it in French. And like they're speaking French. And then sometimes some of them are speaking English with a French accent. Like Ben Affleck's wife speaks English with a French accent. Ben Affleck is just like speaking a very bad British accent in English, and like, Adam Driver is doing his best, and he's probably the best of the fake accents,
Yeah.
but it's still not great. And
No.
Matt Damon is barely trying. I don't know what the fuck he's doing with this movie, but like, that's what's so distracting about this for me is there were some choices made, from the
There
hair
were.
to the accents to like the weird editing choices to like the weird way of structuring the movie, and all of this shit is going on that is so distracting. And then we get to the third act of the movie where you skip over, like, you basically give 5 minutes to all the stuff leading up to her meeting Adam Driver's character. You skip over all of her character introduction. You don't get any backstory from her. You don't get any of her feelings outside of like being dissatisfied with like the consummation of their marriage. Which fair, but
Yeah.
you
With that hair?
basically get
Yeah.
you get a scene of Matt Damon fucking her poorly, and then it skips to her meeting Adam Driver, and you're like, it literally took us like 20-30 minutes with each of the other characters to get to this point.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why are we not getting anything?
And those scenes will drag on too.
Oh god, they're so slow.
Yeah.
And then you get to the true horror of the movie, which is kind of surprisingly one of the more upsetting sexual assault scenes I've seen in a movie. Yeah, it was affecting.
Yeah.
She's really fucking great in it, and so is Adam Driver, and it's appropriately horrifying.
Yep.
As much as you can use that adjective to describe a scene like that, it's just profoundly affecting. Her acting is really intense, and it's really fucked up and scary. And then the rest of the movie is really just the trials and tribulations of these social structures bearing down on her, and the injustice of the court system, and some very fucking on the nose, heavy-handed fucking like
I was getting
allegories.
some BoJack Horseman vibes a little bit, where it's like,
What?
has the issues of women having rights gone too far? To discuss the matter, we've collected a diverse panel of white men in bow ties to talk about this further.
I mean, these days that's definitely kind of a parody thing, and it's definitely still a problem. But I mean, the Dark Ages, like shit, it's just the whole drama of all of that was it was fucked up and dark. By the time it got to that point in the movie, I was actually feeling bad for her. I feel bad that we had to spend so much time with these shitty fucking men.
Yeah,
like, those two guys suck.
They absolutely do.
Indisputably, they both suck ass. I don't give a fuck about their petty squabbles.
Nope. Matt Damon is a whiny man child. Adam Driver's a fucking rapist.
Yeah, and and it was really, really fucking like, it was really disgusting to me to watch Adam Driver basically cover it up afterwards, and Ben Affleck
like
laugh about it and shit. Like the way that whole plot line went was really sickening. Like, it made me actually upset just to watch that. So yeah, I guess my thing about this, and I talked to you about this when we watched it, is just the fact that like, this movie is really boring and has a lot of stupid, distracting choices, and is almost impossible to take seriously through the first two acts.
I was gonna say, I don't know, there's a point where you can.
And when you get to the point where Adam Driver does the thing, then it just gets upsetting. Because up to that point, Marguerite is barely a character.
No.
And
I mean, by design.
I know that's by design, but at the same time, it just made it very hard for me to invest. I was just watching this guy get away with this shit. And then when it got to her story, I actually felt like I had a character I could give a shit about.
She was the only one you gave a shit about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when I actually started feeling engaged in the movie. And by the end of the movie, I feel like it actually accomplished what it set out to do, which was impressive. So
like, there's a good story in there. It just needs to trim out a lot of the goddamn facts. This movie does not need to be 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
Because so much of those dual stories between Matt Damon and Adam Driver just fucking drag on for like tens of minutes, and you're sitting there like, dear God, like hire a better editor.
I don't care.
I don't give a shit about that fucking patch of land that Matt Damon is whining about for
it's my dowry.
Like hours.
Okay, bro, who gives a fuck? Like,
and then the very beginning of the margarita thing, like not margarita. The Marguerite story starts them going like, he knew the whole time. He was being a little bitch about it.
Oh God.
And it's like insufferable entitlement. And I get that's the point, but it's hard to watch that for that long and still want to care what happens next.
It's like, oh, big reveal. He's an asshole in another way. Well,
yeah, like, ooh, whoopsie.
Cool.
Yeah.
That added a lot to my story. Like it's just not compelling for most of it, but when it gets compelling, it's actually compelling. And in no small thanks to Jodie Comer, because she's so fucking good.
Oh yeah,
she's so fucking good in everything I see her in. If you have not watched Killing Eve, you have to go watch Killing Eve. It is so weirdly unique and interesting and dark and funny, and also like kind of a spy versus spy kind of deal. It's got a lot of cool things going on with it, and a killer soundtrack. But that's where she's gained a lot of people's attention, and she's having her moment. And
I'm glad she's getting more work. Yeah,
she is really the only reason that this movie is worth anything.
Yeah, I mean, I will give Ridley Scott some credit here. Like, this is some of the best action sequences I've seen him direct in a long time.
Dude, have you seen Kingdom of Heaven?
I mean, I meant recently.
No, I know, but like, I feel like this is kind of something that he's really good at.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I think like Alien Covenant, that was the last action movie I saw him do.
It's not really an action movie though.
True, but it has action sequence in it.
It has action sequences, sure, but
like this isn't really an action movie either, but the action sequences are way more engaging.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like the action sequences are kind of filler, except for the final duel.
Yeah, like it is a good final duel though.
No, the duel is great. When you get to the titular duel, like it is a good fucking time.
It is Matt Damon and Adam Driver just beating the ever living shit out of each other.
Yeah, and it really is this thing where I'm like, oh man, that was a brutal kill.
Yeah,
that was actually a kind of fucking up, intense kill.
Like when you're only rooting for Matt Damon just so Marguerite doesn't die.
Yeah. But
like points like, oh, we're gonna light her on fire the minute Matt Damon dies. We're ready for this shit.
Yeah. I don't know how much. I think that this is the thing about this is that it does have a worthwhile tale to tell, but I don't like how it tells it.
Yeah,
it spends too much time focusing on these people that we don't care about. The idea of watching this movie for a second time is just really a hard pass for me, because like 60% of it is insufferable garbage and pointless to sit through. I would have much rather seen this whole story from her perspective.
Yeah,
we would have gotten the exact same impression of the other douchebag characters. We could have even included a couple of the scenes that they had without her. Like, you could have very easily made a movie that was 45 minutes shorter and had her as the very compelling central character the whole time.
Yep.
And I think that this is fundamentally a problem with, like, old man Ridley Scott.
Yeah. Old man Ridley Scott likes to pad his shit out, for better or worse.
Yeah. And it feels like he's putting a lot of weight where it doesn't necessarily belong. And again, I have to wonder if the point of this movie was the resilience of this really this woman who is against all the odds in a society that has all the odds stacked against her,
Mhm.
like in a situation where she is kind of at the mercy of these fucking men's egos.
Mhm.
Like, if the whole point of the story is her story, do we need to spend so much time with these men? Do we really need to spend so much time just watching her suffer? Like, my favorite part of the movie by far was watching her manage the farm
Yeah.
when Matt Damon went on a trip. I'm like, oh, this is actually like enjoyable. Like, this is a nice little sequence. I would take so much more of that. And I know that's meant to be like a grim, dark movie, but
I get what you mean, though.
I don't know. And again, it's the question of how much do we need to see someone suffering? It's the same conversation we've had with Ron about black suffering on screen.
Yeah.
It's just a different form of it. It's the idea that when you see a movie, I feel like this is a movie made for men.
I mean, it's like
It's
I can kind of see. I see what you mean. Like I can see what they're going for in terms of like trying to make commentary on the patriarchy and how it runs things, and like
sure,
how all of it's kind of flipped on its head the minute you actually like look at it from the woman's perspective. But it is
but
still written by men. Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. Who's it for?
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to put a woman through this movie, if you want to have a movie with a female protagonist and give her somebody to like root for and admire, do you have to make her sit through over an hour and a half of these fucking men doing their bullshit
That's
and
also very
basically ignoring her, and then watch this woman get raped twice?
yeah.
The first time is bad enough because the first time is clearly not willing, but the second time is fucking horrific.
Yeah.
And just the gaslighting and the denial of her, like, these are things that women have to deal with just
Yeah.
generally. So I wouldn't recommend this movie to somebody who's been through some shit like that.
That's completely
And it's
yeah.
it's the same idea as recommending, like, if you're recommending any kind of movie that has hate crimes against, queer people or black people to anybody from those groups, it's you got to be really careful about how you use those scenes and how you present that stuff, because there has to be a point, and there's a point where, like, the level of suffering you're putting on screen just isn't worth the output. Now, at the same time, I will say that as a movie that targets men who may not be sympathetic to these kinds of things or even aware, yeah, I would say that it potentially has a lot more potential benefit. Could be a lot more effective in what it's trying to do, because maybe the men only care about these two fucking dumbass dudes. Maybe they haven't considered the woman's perspective. Maybe they've been in situations where they're not that different from Adam Driver in the first scene, and thought that it was fine. Like, there's things to consider for men.
Yeah.
But personally, as someone who is all too aware of this shit and hates guys like that, I didn't have a good I'm not the audience. I'm not the person who needs to see this movie. And at the same time, I have to wonder, like, how on the nose it gets in the last act, whether it would even get through to those people, or if they'd feel like it's being preachy to them.
I think there's, like, for the people who would think it's preachy, there's nothing you could do where it wouldn't be preachy.
Sure, fair, but yeah, I don't know. I just, it wasn't for me. I can definitely see it being good for some people, but for me, it was just too unpleasant to be worth the payoff, because it was like, oh, geez, you think? Like,
no, I think you're right. I think it's a very concise breakdown. I don't really know what else to add to it.
I'll tell you, being a technical writer really gets you into the point where you, like, just fucking compact shit down into concepts. Like,
You're making me look stupid on my own show. I'm just kidding.
I don't have to do anything for that, Michael.
Okay, I set myself up for that one.
I'm not making you do anything. No, you're fine.
We have a wonderful caprice. Anyway.
I couldn't leave that one unaddressed. I'm sorry.
No, I left myself wide open for that. I had it coming. It's fine. All
right.
I think it's all we got for this. I know you got something in 5 minutes, so we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, we're okay. But generally, yeah, that's just it has its merits, it has its value, but it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be, and you'll feel it. And
look, that's why I took so long to watch it, because I just every time I was gonna schedule, it's like, it's 2.5 hours I could be using for literally anything else.
Matt Damon's hair, dude. Look, here's the thing. If you've seen Dune, that's also 2.5 hours. So might I just recommend, if you're thinking about seeing The Last Duel, go see Dune again. Like, just go do that. Like,
I personally only need to see Dune once for me. That's just me.
I've seen it 4 times.
I know you have. That does not surprise me at all.
I could.
You're the man that watched Cat 10 times.
No. Don't you compare to this Cats. How dare you?
Very different experience. My point is, when you like a movie,
I never watched Cats 4 times in a week.
Didn't you though? I thought there was that one time.
No, there was once I watched it twice in one day.
Oh, okay. All right.
I watched Dune twice in a day for 2 days.
Dear God, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that on Friday.
3D, IMAX, XD 3D, XD D-Box, Dolby tonight. Yeah, I'm fucking doing it.
Okay.
I'll have an actual frame of reference to compare all the different theater types and be like, oh, this sucks for this. This is good for this. So
you also way more to say about than I do.
Dude, fucking Century Theaters are doing XD 3D screens. The XD screens are not as good as the Dolby screens or the IMAX screens, but the XD 3D screens are better than any fucking screens that AMC is showing 3D on. So go do it. 3D's good for this movie. It's fucking great. So
I'll keep it in mind. I don't know if I want to sit. I want to sit down for another 2.5 hour movie, but either way, we'll talk about that on Friday. I know people are asking me to watch Ron's Gone Ron. I'll try to make time for it. We'll see what happens. I'm going to be out of town.
Not a lot of people have.
Yeah, so
it flopped pretty bad.
Did it? Did it flop really bad?
Oh God, dude! It didn't even outperform No Time to Die.
Oh no, I kind of feel bad because it's not getting bad reviews.
No. I mean, not as an opening weekend kind of deal.
I know what you mean. On the same weekend.
It didn't outperform Halloween Kills.
Now I feel kind of bad for it. Yeah.
They to be fair, they haven't advertised anything of it.
I have not seen it a few times, man.
I have not seen a single trailer, and I've been going to see so many movies these days.
Watch that fucking Jackass trailer one more goddamn time.
Oh God, I'm so sick of it. I get it, it's fun, but I'm so sick of it. Honestly, I'm just glad The Last Duel is out so we can stop seeing the fucking trailer everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Also, fun game to play during The Last Duel. See if you can figure out what sequence the scenes were shot in by how much Ben Affleck's roots are showing. It's pretty great.
I'm not watching it again for that though.
Nope.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. See y'all later.